What was that song you were singing there,
Donna.
Retro, on the pre-show?
Oh,
Donna.
Donna. Oh, Donna.
I hope we don't get flagged on YouTube for
It's probably
that sounding so similar to the original.
It's like when you can hum for Shazam, they still know the song.
That's right.
That's a dangerous
watch out
piece of technology. Could get us in trouble.
The Rhettster, Ryan Pinder, and yours truly here in the Tower Chrysler Studios. What's going on, Retro? How are we?
Is Pinder a little bit spicy today? Huh?
No.
We were just all here ready. That's all. Frank's here.
Frank is here.
Yeah, we're all ready.
We're going to go down this path. So I've got to get accustomed sitting here for 15 minutes and doing fuck all. That's part of the requirement now.
He really has backpedaled on his cursing position, hasn't he?
Wow, now that it's
insulting.
Yeah. It's like, well, that horse is out of the barn. We're not getting her back.
Tower Chrysler Studios.
If you don't yell, you don't win the argument. You gotta yell, cuss, and scream.
It does feel that way.
Yeah. I'm yelling louder.
Like
I must be right.
What language it was, but he was sure loud and sure. He must have won. That's my policy, at least.
TowerChrysler.com from now till the end of the month over at Tower, doing good deeds for other people. They are collecting warm clothing for the mustard seeds. Swing by the dealership, drop off any winter items, your hats, boots, coats, hand warmers, you know the deal. Drop by the dealership, drop them off. You'll be entered into a draw. And at the end of the month, a nice little prize package going to be awarded to one of the people that do. And of course, that's at 10901 McLeod Trail South. You know where it is.
A lot of numbers.
It's Trail.
Just look for Tower.
Trail. Just go to
by Anderson Station.
It's right there. It's on Trail. You mentioned Frank Seravalli. There is Frank Seravalli, who has sobered up since the weekend in the desert, as he was at Super Bowl cheering on his Philadelphia Eagles.
His Eagles.
Yes. Fly, Eagles, fly. What happened, Frank? At half, I know you were...
saw you streaking, Frank.
Yeah. Saw you on one of those platforms in that white suit doing your hoopty-doopty dance. You look great, bud.
Good moves.
Yeah, it was impressive, the height of that. I was getting a little nauseous watching that, although that may have been the booze from the weekend.
I was going to say, maybe it was the fireball making you all teary-eyed and emotional.
Did you pull the double up? Did you get to the golf tournament there, the WM Phoenix Open, or not?
No, I couldn't swing that. There's only so much debauchery you can pack into one weekend, and we had a day on Saturday though. We went to Scottsdale and we were posted up at a few different spots, mostly of the outdoor variety, patio variety, and it was quite a day. Note to self though, next time you bring your dad on a trip, remember to have him eat dinner in the middle of all of that going on, because we ended up putting in a shift during the day, not so much one at night.
Got to feed the old man, eh?
Yeah. What's it like cleaning up your dad's puke? Like after your drunk dad hurls on the floor? Is that bonding?
No, there was no puking, none at all.
Yeah.
It was actually just like at some point. So this is hilarious. This is actually when I knew that I needed to call an Uber to get us home, is when I saw him like run into a buddy and he hugged him, and I was like, my dad's hugged me like once in my life. I was like, oh, Uber, like get this guy out of here. It's time to go.
No, you were in your fields too, apparently. Some scar tissue there, Frank. Jeez.
The hugs are coming out.
Yeah.
We're another week closer to the trade deadline.
16 days.
Do we see this happen? Patrick Kane, one of the biggest names in hockey, potentially on the move, where a deal is made not involving him or his team, but yet you can see there's a bit of, I guess the Rangers made that deal. Very rare that you see a guy almost kind of outwardly expressing jealousy that's kind of where I would have liked to have gone.
Yeah, shame on him. You know what? Get your act together. Get your list in. Have a conversation with your agent. Rip off the Band-Aid and have that conversation with your GM if you'd like to go down that path. I think everyone knew that this infatuation had been there, not just from the Rangers side. I heard going back to last year's draft floor that the Rangers were interested in engaging in a conversation with the Blackhawks about Kane then. And then it lingered all the way up until the point where, I've talked before about his dad being so active in his career and his life, who's at morning skates and practices, quietly asking people, hey, what do you hear about the Rangers in Madison Square Garden, and what it would be like to live there and play there? They went through the whole process trying to figure out what that might be like, only to have the Rangers turn around and trade for Vladimir Tarasenko. And I think there were two reasons for that. One, the Chicago Blackhawks, with regard to Patrick Kane, his house wasn't in order. Don't have an answer yet as to what he would like to do. And two, there's real concern about the hip injury that he has and why he does not look like the Showtime we're used to seeing on the ice, to the point where they said, we think this guy in Tarasenko may cost less, may play better, and be a better overall fit with our team without any of the headaches or the hoopla.
So why isn't his shit together, so to speak? Like, we've seen this coming for a year and a half, 2 years. He's not that oblivious. I mean, if he's fantasizing about going there, like, tell the team you want to go there. It's not much more complicated than that, is it?
No, it's actually not complicated at all, because his agent actually has the ability with a full no trade clause to essentially engage in those conversations on his behalf whenever he wants. And that hasn't happened. They are still now, in the last few days, I'm told, doing their due diligence, engaging in different conversations with different people to try and understand what options may be out there on the market. I mentioned one in the Edmonton Oilers yesterday as part of my trade deadline matchmaker series. I know you guys can envision me in a little tutu running around playing hockey's love doctor.
Cupid.
But in this case, I think the list of potential teams where he is a fit is probably pretty small. And then on top of that, the list that he might actually consider beyond that may be even smaller.
What about the Karlsson Edmonton smoke? Does that make sense to you? Like, both of these guys are huge salaries. Kane at least is up at the end of the year, so you could probably get a bunch of retention as much as you needed moving it around. But like the Karlsson one, I'm trying to wrap my head around. How does that work financially?
I don't think it does. And the reason for that is we saw, at least in a report a month back or so, that the Sharks were looking for 3 first-round picks in order to trade Karlsson and retain upwards of 20%. So if they were to go beyond that, and let's say they're able to get into a range where, let's say, a team like the Oilers might be comfortable at $7 or $7.5 million, well, the asset price then goes from 3 first-round picks north of that. And so you can begin to do the calculus on what that looks like in order to pull it off. But what's more concerning to me, if I was in the Oilers chair as general manager, would be, how do you then trade off $7 or $7.5 million back the other direction in order to make this trade work? Okay, you can pick Jesse Puljujarvi and pluck him off your roster. Fine. Who else are you sending with him in order to make the money work? And ultimately, at the end of the day, are you comfortable with the risk factor giving all of that up to get Erik Karlsson, who's played at an otherworldly level this season, but has 4 more years left on his deal and a basically reconstructed ankle?
Well, you know, it won't be fit for Edmonton going to San Jose.
Yeah, I don't think Kane.
I don't think San Jose's. Sorry, go ahead, Rhett.
Well, for that cost, is Karlsson I mean, I get that he's playing lights out. I understand that, but what's he going to do? Improve your power play? You got too many guys that hold the puck already. Is he the right fit for that kind of price to help Edmonton? Like, if I'm the GM, I'm going, all right, I'm going to give away 4 first-rounders and a bunch of stuff to get a guy back. Am I better served diversifying that and getting 2 defensemen or whatever else? Like, it just doesn't seem to make sense.
That's the way I see it, Rhett, because I look at the Oilers and I say, they're the one team in the league that doesn't need help on their power play. They're clicking at 31%. What are you possibly hoping to get to? 37? Like, what? And how much is that going to help you moving forward? I agree. I don't think Jacob Chychrun is a fit for the same exact reason that you're talking about. When you watch his game closely, he's a shot threat on the power play, and an elite one at that. But he's not a distributor. He's not a facilitator. He's not a puck transporter. He barely makes plays in his own end. He does a lot of, chip off the wall and bounce it off to guys, short 5 to 10 area plays that I just say neither one of those guys make sense to me, which is why I then sort of pivoted to the idea of Kane, which I think would be intriguing.
Well, that would be intriguing, but
though.
Wouldn't two Tanevs be more of the right move for a team like Edmonton? Like, to me, that's what.
Yeah,
guys
to get
handling the puck.
A true defender, maybe, and someone, along the lines of a Gavrikov. I don't think they're intrigued at the price that Columbus has been asking for Gavrikov, but maybe that stylistic type of player. I look at another guy in Chicago, Jake McCabe, that could solve a lot of their issues, and especially if you can get him for the next 2 years at $2 million instead of the $4 that he's currently being paid in Chicago, with them being willing to retain. Like, that stands out to me. Like, plug him into your lineup, then maybe add a forward and try and improve in a number of different areas, as opposed to really, blowing all your assets out on one big guy.
As we're rolling on this, Gavrikov is sat as a healthy scratch for trade reasons kind of a thing. Chychrun, the same thing. We're 2 weeks away. You would think if a deal is imminent, that's the kind of thing you do. And I get it. If he's an asset that you want to deal, are they really not going to play him for the next 2 weeks if it goes right to the deadline?
Yes, that I believe is the plan. And I've seen a lot of, at least in my inbox, a bunch of general managers belly aching, saying like, what gives here? Columbus, like, obviously the tank's been on for a while, but really, like, we're going to sit this guy out for 2 weeks when nothing is imminent? I think they were pretty far down the track on something with the Boston Bruins. I don't know what the holdup is. I don't know why it's taking so long. Similar to the LA Kings and Jacob Chychrun, there was clearly something there. Depending on who you talk to now, they say nothing is there. And I wonder, for both of these guys, where we know the ask has been extremely high, how much of this is trying to smoke a team out in the age of social media to see if you can get someone to step up and pay the price that you're looking for. Because I think right now, both those teams, it seems to me at least, are grasping for straws.
Both of them are high price tags. Like what we heard the ask on Chychrun was a year ago. It was like, whew. I mean, I know it's a good AAV and he's a good player, but I mean, Arizona's trying to line the streets with gold bricks on that one. And then with Gavrikov, they're like, well, we got this for David Savard. And it's like, cool, different draft class, different year. And I don't know that teams looked at that move Tampa made and said, ooh, we'd do that deal. I mean, they won the cup, but he played in their third pair. It seems like a lot for a 2.5 month third pair guy. I mean, do you see those prices coming down, or do you see these guys willing to walk these guys to the summer?
I've seen the price coming down since we've heard the price, asked. And I think what's interesting is the wrinkle that Arizona has thrown in the mix. I believe in the last week or so, essentially saying that they're willing to retain on Jacob Chychrun. Maybe if you can knock him down to $3 million or 2.3, that's one way to get your asking price ultimately. But I think your point is soundly made on Gavrikov, because it's not just the David Savard deal, which they're trying to match or plus. It's also the trade for Ben Sherratt last year, and neither one of those really worked out. Yes, Tampa won the cup, but Savard played third pair minutes, as you said, and Sherratt, they got him in there, and immediately after, a few regular season games, their coaches were saying, like, this guy, like, might be healthy scratch material. That's, what they got, and it's a first-round pick that went the other way. So neither one, for that similar stylistic fit defensively, has really panned out, and I personally can't see the super high price tag, but maybe if it's, one late first-round pick and a sort of no-name, C-level prospect, then maybe that gets it done. I just don't see it being in the upper echelons of where Savard was before. But here's the annual reminder that it only takes one team.
Yeah.
Are we pretty close, though, to seeing that kind of a defined cut line between buyers and sellers? I'm looking in the East. The Islanders, they had Horvat. They're going for it. Florida has to go for it. And then you've got a dip down to Buffalo. I wonder if it's there. If it's the Islanders and Panthers on the outside in the East, and then in the West, you've got Calgary tied with Minnesota, not points percentage, just points as we go today. Then Nashville is there, and then it's St. Louis, who's already sold off with Tarasenko. So is it the Flames and Preds and the Islanders and Panthers in the East, as far as the contenders, and everybody else pretty much in the sell mode as we sit here today?
Yeah, I'd say there's a really difficult conversation ensuing right now in Nashville. You heard their general manager and David Poile mention on a radio appearance yesterday morning, saying, we're definitely not a buyer, but the longer this goes on, we could be a seller. And I think if you're taking a 30,000 foot view on the Preds, you're saying, well, even if they're able to sneak in and get that final second wildcard spot, does anyone really look at that team as a contender, one that could do damage? Maybe you could make the argument based on Saros. I doubt it. And they also have a lot of term and contracts. So let's say they are going to be a seller. Well, who exactly are you going to be selling off? I've had Matthias Ekholm on our trade board for a while. Since early January, I believe they began to engage in some flirtatious discussions about Ekholm. If Ekholm were to be available, what would you be willing to pay? And I think that contract may ultimately prove a little bit difficult to move. And you've got a couple other guys that might generate some interest. Mikael Granlund is one for all the different areas of the game that he touches. I'd say there's probably a little bit of interest in Nino Niederreiter. Tanner Jeannot is a guy that scored 24 goals last year and has a difficult RFA and ARB case. Do they want to pay him? Like, those are the types, but you're not getting anything for, you can't trade the Johansson contract, or, you've got your untouchables in Yossi and Saros that it's not an easy deadline to navigate if you're Nashville, because you've invested a ton of money in this core to be way more successful than it has been.
Oh, it's the same situation in Calgary.
Yeah. Everyone was waiting to do that. Like, there's a lot of common ground there, I think, Frank, between where Nashville's at and where Calgary's at.
I understand what you're saying about the contracts, but I look at Calgary's team and I look at Nashville's team, and I'd say one is way more suited to compete in the next number of years than Nashville. Like, you saw that team barely get into the playoffs last year with like 4 or 5 guys having career years. Yeah, I know there was a bit of that occurred in Calgary when they won the division, but I look at the weirdness of this year, the lack of goaltending from Jacob Markstrom. I honestly believe there is a chemistry type issue. There's something off with this team. I don't know what it is in Calgary, but I look at those two cores and I know which one, without even blinking, I'd sign up to have on in my city as opposed to Nashville.
You're in contact with Brad Treliving on a semi-regular basis. You know the guy. His track record by now as a GM is pretty well detailed. What's going through his mind? Obviously, he wants to let the team give him the message. What are you going to do in the next couple of weeks? I just don't know if you're going to be completely swayed one way or the other in the next couple of weeks. I have to think by now you've kind of got your gut as to what you're looking at if you're Treliving. What's your sense on what he's seeing?
Yeah, I would describe the Calgary Flames much in the same boat as the Minnesota Wild, although different stages. Minnesota has some cap space issues to navigate next season and beyond, and Calgary does in some respects with the contracts that kick in for Huberdeau and Weegar. But I would call them both cautious buyers. I would say that they are intrigued with the team that they have and would really like to see them in a playoff series go toe-to-toe with someone, because I think both of those teams think that they have elements that they'd be difficult outs. Calgary, I think, needs more to go right for them than Minnesota. Minnesota has struggled to score at even strength, and that's been their big issue. The Flames, it feels like more often than not, they've played good hockey for stretches, but shoot themselves in the foot. And so, yeah, are they looking for direction over these next 16 days? Of course. I don't think they're going to get an answer. I think what you see for the first, 100 and some days of the season and what you've seen or what you will see in these next 16 probably isn't going to be all that different. And they're not going to, I don't envision either one being enormous spenders, but I think that they're looking for ways to improve their teams based on the limited assets that they do have, cap space, and or picks and prospects, to try and make it work without going overboard.
Rhett, do you have any pushback on any of those feels? Because Frank sees this team a lot differently than you do at this juncture.
Well, I think Frank and I have disagreed on the Flames and how they've approached things since summer, to be quite honest with you, and that's fine. I think that's the other side of the equation, is that, well, if they can get in, if Markstrom can find his way, and if they would get a goal, score an extra goal here or get an extra save there, we could be certainly higher up in the standings. I just thought from the start, because I'm a big believer in chemistry, and a lot of people will say, "Well, chemistry, what is that?" Like, prove it. But I don't think they have any chemistry. I think they're frustrated. I think they got guys that aren't happy, and I don't think that's an easy thing to overcome. I don't think that's a light switch that you can go and flip. I don't think a trade makes any sense. I think get rid of assets. You've built this team. It's supposed to be what it's going to be. Pinder's talked about bringing in a guy like Shen to add some depth to the defense, and I'm like, why the hell would you give up any assets? I think they're very similar to Nashville, where even if they manage to get in, and I think that's a long shot, I don't know that they're going to be. I think they're finishing in a wild card position, and I don't think they're going to beat a team in the first round. So, prove me wrong, but that's my stance would be, hey, if there's people calling and they want my players, I'm open for business. I'm not looking to add. I'm open for business the other way. And I'll tell you why, Frank. It's a lot of the reason is because if you go back over the history of the Calgary Flames, and it's maybe silly, but since the 90s, they've never built a team.
What does that mean?
They've slapped teams
never rebuilt,
together. They've never had a long-term approach to things. There's never been a 8-year, 5-year, 8-year plan. I'm sure every GM says there is, but then they go off on a tangent and they trade for Hammond and give up a bunch of picks. And there's never been a let's stop and reevaluate what we're after. The ownership has always said we'll spend to the cap. Our objective is to get into the playoffs, and if we get in the playoffs, anything can happen. I think that's certainly it can hold true, but you're asking for flukes. We talked about it last week on this show. Mika Kiprusoff in 2004 was a fluke. The fact that we lost our top 2 goaltenders was the only reason we were looking for a goalie, and you got basically a Hall of Famer. That's not a plan. It's not a plan. And we were in like 12th or 13th place when we went to the finals. We worked our asses off, and I'm not taking anything away from the group of guys because they know how much I love them. But that's not a plan from a organizational point of view. I think the fans in Calgary deserve to understand that 5 years from now, they're going to have a run of seasons where you're successful, and you're always going to be in a playoff position, and you're going to be there. Not these one-offs. Last year, everyone has career year. We get in, and they still shit the bed. Now this year, we're no good. The year before last year, no good. The year before that, win that's not a plan. It's not a plan, and they need to have a longer-term view of things.
See, I think all your points are well made and certainly interesting thought process. I would argue, though, with the core that they've assembled, what they believe in between Huberdeau and Kadri and Weegar on the back end, and you could probably throw in Rasmus Anderson there or whatever. Basically, for these next 3 years, while Jacob Markstrom is under contract, they had mapped it out to be really competitive in that window, and they're not right now, at least. And I disagree with you.
I disagree with you 100% there because there's no effing way. They absolutely. The trade was a good trade to get Huberdeau and Weegar. That's fine. The locking them up for long term was not a good. I argue, and we can argue that point back and forth we have before. It's fine to have different opinions on it. That's not a plan. That was a fucking whoa. We lost guys. We better fill it out. And I spoke yesterday about it. Markstrom hasn't done anything. He's never rose up when their team needs him and carried them on his back. He's not took a team deep into the playoffs. And yesterday, in the game against Ottawa was a perfect example of what I think the issue with him is. I think it's like he's got a mental glitch. When things get tight, he don't answer the bell. Go watch the playoffs against Edmonton last year. He was terrible.
The Oilers broke him, and he's never been the same since that series.
But I don't think he was that great before, Frank, and that's my problem. And it's goofy to say he was a Vezina. But he doesn't do anything in the playoffs. Yeah, I get frustrated by that because there's lots of guys that are revered as these great players, and I'm like, if you're a great player, you make your team good and you carry them into playoffs. That's what
I understand what you're saying, and I think the playoff thing is a different equation, but I'd have to really take a deep dive on the goaltending and the numbers. I would argue that the Flames this year, with how much their goaltending has fallen off, Markstrom has cost them somewhere between 8 and 12 points in the standings.
It's first in the division.
Still doesn't explain Huberdeau's fall off.
Well, and, go look at his ice time. What here? Let me throw something at you with this. What player makes that kind of coin and has put up those type of numbers and plays that little?
That's a tough question.
I can't find a guy in the league.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
We beat up on this team lots. So I go back to, but okay. Here's the question then. How come they have so many shots on net? Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
It's hard to argue that it's a bad thing.
I think it's a bad thing.
I think
you know why?
We're talking about quality is the issue. Yeah. I don't think you're never not happy getting shots. They just need to find better shots, right?
And I don't think they got the skill to get in a position to get better shots. They're not. And now, that being said, you could be right. Maybe it's a coaching thing where the coaches are screaming, shoot the puck, shoot the puck. I don't think, and only because I'm here in Buffalo, I know some of the approach that different teams have, and it's hang on to the puck and create. I don't think that's the message in Calgary, but is it not the message because the players don't have the talent to do it or because the coaches don't like it? I don't know that.
I think there's a significant chemistry problem. And I think that's actually the biggest thing. I don't think it's a skill problem. I don't think it's a work ethic issue. But goaltending has been something that I think, I just hit on. But you touched on it a little bit. I've received pushback whenever I've asked the question. All I can tell you is this. I started a new show a few weeks back called Frankly Speaking. It's a one-on-one interview series, podcast style. And this week's guest, it actually just dropped a couple hours ago, is Nazem Kadri. And I had him, the last question I asked him to wrap up the interview, I said, the Calgary Flames will make the playoffs if. And I was expecting some kind of detailed answer as to, well, this part of our game needs to be better or whatever it may be. And he said, the Calgary Flames will make the playoffs if we play as a team. And I thought, I don't know what exactly he's getting at, but having played on some pretty close teams, winning a Stanley Cup last year, that's his way of saying something's a little bit off here.
And 100%. And I think that they're off because they've tried to slap a team together. They brought in Kadri. They brought in Markstrom. They brought in Tanev. They brought in, and all these guys you could say are good players. But why are the teams letting them go? You can, Capish, they know them the best. All these players. They know these players the best. And we all know if you think these are the guys you have to keep, you hang on to them. So for some reason, these teams were like, yeah, we'll let them go. But more to my point is that's not a plan of putting together a team. Good teams, the Chicago Blackhawks, the Boston Bruins, even the LA Kings, Tampa Bay, Colorado last year. Those teams were all assembled over the course of time. And I'm not good at this because I'm too effing lazy, but I guarantee you, I guess I can't guarantee you, but my thought would be they have more drafted players that have been brought along, drafted and developed in their roster than the Calgary Flames. And you have to have that to be able to manage what you're trying to accomplish. Going out and adding all of these assets and pieces, and whether they're good or bad, and all these guys need to come along together and have a common goal in mind, not reap rewards because they had good seasons somewhere else and went to the highest bidder.
Frank, we'll let you go. I wanted you to, so frankly speaking, where do we find that? Because this Kadri thing is must listen now. Where do we get it?
Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, type in Frankly Speaking and you will see it. You'll see my fat face.
Oh, so it's a video. We can watch it on the YouTubes as well?
No, just it's audio only, but you'll see the little cover image. You'll see. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I see. Yeah, that's nice. That's nice.
Great, Frank.
Sorry about the Eagles, Frank. next year, right?
Yeah, that's the way she goes. I mean, look,
Or is
it
it
was
the Bills?
such an anticlimactic ending. Well, look at this. These are my people.
That's your car.
Yeah, I know. You're gone
yeah.
and they do this to you.
Your
Only
sedan.
they knew it was an Eagles
Told you
fan.
not to park there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is before the game, right? This is before they lost.
Jeez. Imagine after.
What a town.
Yeah.
What?
I gotta
what
visit
a
one day.
town.
Visit
Honestly,
Frank.
I couldn't be more proud to be from a place. Like, I know that sounds wild to say when you watch this, but like, I couldn't think of a better place to grow up.
Doesn't look boring, I'll give you that.
Be good,
It
Frank.
was never
Appreciate
boring,
you.
and a ton of hard workers. So hang in there, guys.
Love it.
See you, Frank. Check you next week. Frank Seravalli, our NHL insider, standing on top of that overturned car there in downtown Philly. Yeah,
there's lots there, eh?
Have to cut him off, or what was the rush to get him out?
I think he has time issues. Yeah,
he has. It's 20. You know, he's yeah.
Well, sometimes Frank needs to recognize that.
Recognize.
That's right. What?
I don't know.
No, he. You know what? He was tapping out because you had beaten him down to a pulp. The thing about the drafted things, it's hard. I would guess you're probably right. You think of who the Flames have lost as far as their own drafted equity in the last 2 years. If you want to go like Sam Bennett, throw in Giordano as a guy that was developed within the franchise, Monahan, Gaudreau, Kachuk, like all of those guys have left. So yeah, as you go up and down the roster right now, there's not a lot of homegrown talent.
But I mean, if the argument's that there wasn't enough homegrown guys, it should have helped them last year more. Or 2 years ago when they missed playoffs when they had way more homegrown guys. I mean, I think there's something to it for sure, but I think there's also just you have savvy GMs, they find talent everywhere. It's not just through the draft. You know, like you pick up Nichushkin after a 1-goal season and he turns into a superstar. Like there's more than just doing well in the draft.
But that's a savvy ad. That's not a big stab move. Like we talked about it before when the Boston Bruins went and got Rick Nash. Why in the F would you go get Rick Nash? You got a great team because you've built that team. These moves that Brad has made are all big moves. They're not.
I think the Boston team you complimented did a very similar thing. They bring in Hampus Lindholm and they extend him almost immediately. And he's playing on a top pair with McAvoy. Has been a big part of their success since he got there a year ago. So, I mean, I understand the point you're trying to make, but I think the teams you're putting up as examples have done a lot of the things that the Flames have done.
I disagree.
When you hear someone say, and Frank's not the first and not the only, and I guess this happens when your team is underperforming, or at least is not at the level you thought they were going to be. Sometimes there's chemistry issues. There's something not right.
Because you bring.
Does that mean any one thing?
Around. That's why.
Like, I was going to say, can it mean that you have too many players on the ice that are of similar skill set and not of another? Can it be that you have different guys don't like each other in the room? Yeah.
But it all goes back to what we were just saying, and I'm sorry for stomping on you, but it all goes back to that. How many guys are in this lineup because they took the biggest offer they could get? And I don't begrudge them that. Let's go through the list. Who's here because they got the biggest offer? I mean,
I've had zero issue with Tanev since he showed up. He's here for that reason.
Tanev, Markstrom.
I haven't.
Kadri.
Yeah, I haven't had an issue with Kadri at this point, but there's lots of guys that come here in free agency. Blake Coleman. I mean, Zach Hyman did the same in Edmonton. You do that again, right? This is the nature of adding in free agency. You go to the high bidder 9 times out of 10.
Right. Argue it all. Hey, it's real working fucking well for the Flames. Keep it up, guys. Keep it up.
No, but
you're
listen,
doing a hell of a job.
I think you're making good points, but you can't make these absolute statements, right? Like you never sign a guy. Well, no, it works well for other teams.
That's not what I'm saying, Ryan. Don't spin my words into stupidity. I'm saying you don't.
I'm not spinning into stupidity.
Yeah, you are. Don't interrupt me. Shut the fuck up. You've brought in a bunch of high-paid guys, and they're your core guys. Who have you developed that's your core guy? Rasmus Anderson?
Anderson, yeah.
Backlund's on his way out. He's 35 fucking years old. What has he done? He hasn't helped the team win his whole career. He's not. You guys argue this, but you're wrong. You say, Boston. Who helped that team become what they are? Marchand, Bergeron, Pasternak, who's the guy? Krejci. They traded for Chara, sure, great or free agent. Yeah. That was a huge one. But for the most part, those guys are brought along.
Yeah, no, hey, absolutely, man. No one's here saying the Flames are the best run organization in the league. No one is. Like, it's just that, like, There have been instances where you do extend guys immediately. It works great. Like Campus Lindholm, I give you the example. That's Boston. They did it. Bang, signed him. He was hardly there. It's worked great. So
But did he not play? Did he not play? He
It
played.
would have been weeks, not months.
But he did play.
Oh, but I mean, if you're going to watch 5 games, like I think it was almost immediate. I'll look the timeline up. It's not a long amount of time. I think the point that I'm with Rhett on is when you have a great room with great leaders and guys that have won, it's easier to bring in Nichushkins and Lindholms and other guys that, can come in and win with you. They had a better foundation for sure. I think a big issue with this team is I think Daryl wants to be the leading force. And I still wonder, I don't think captaincy is a big thing, but I think them not having a captain reflects maybe a bit of a void there. Like, who is their star player that's won? Kadri, but he's just arrived. Right? And I think you'd agree with that, Rhett.
100%. And part of the issue I have, I don't think Kadri's played poorly. I think he's probably played Kadri-style hockey, and he's a good – but I want Kadri when he hasn't won. Because I want him hungry to win.
Okay. I think the flip side would be you'd want to bring him in to teach that wisdom of winning, and a guy that's been there before. You always ask, what has he won? What's he done in the playoffs?
I'm not a...
until last year, was Kadri a guy that fits your bill or no?
What do you mean?
Well, you always say, what have these guys done in the playoffs? You guys are overvaluing guys that never win. Kadri was a part of some of those Leafs teams that flamed out early, right? Last year's the year he got over the hump. Colorado didn't get through the second round until last year. Through the third round.
So the point you're making is that that Kadri is one of those guys that they haven't had, which is a winner.
Yeah, which you're saying you don't have any winners, and now you're saying, well, I wanted him before he won. Like, which guy do you want, the winner or the guy that hasn't won yet?
But you signed him to the biggest contract you could. That's the only reason. I want Kadri growing and learning how to win as a part of a core. If you'd kept Kachuk, Gaudreau, Monahan, if you develop these guys and they come together, they have an identity. They don't need Daryl Sutter to make their identity for them. That's what I'm trying to get at. Your core can't be pieces from around the league that are all the highest paid guys that you can get. And that's what you've created in Calgary. Now, you could say, well, Gaudreau left, and what can we do? No, well, that's part of the issue of developing this and creating it. That's part of it. Michael Backlund has never helped his team get over the hump, has he? And I actually think he's played good.
But I
think he was his best player against Edmonton last year. But that doesn't, right? Like, you want guys that are hungry. And again, I'm trying to say it so that because it makes sense in my head. If you have 8 guys that you've brought along and they're all growing together and they're all fighting to get and win, and they got it's easy to say McKinnon now because he's in Colorado and they just won, but they've got a guy that's 100% hungry to win a Stanley Cup as your leader, and they're going to grow together. And this is the common goal, and we're that's what you need. And then if you add a piece, sure, but you don't build your core by bringing in a bunch of pieces. That's what the Toronto Maple Leafs used to do when there was no salary cap. That's what the New York Rangers used to do when there was no salary cap. And none of those effing teams ever win. Name me a team that's gone about it that way and won. Even Detroit, they went and got Shanahan and Hull. But Shanahan and Hull were complement pieces to guys that were there, Fedorov and Stevie Y setting the standard, right?
Well, you look back to the guys that were here, and it's not pinning blame, but you wonder if Sean Monahan doesn't see the decline, whether it's injuries or whatever, but if he is still your number one center, is Johnny still here? Is Bennett still here? Because you did have that group. That was that young core, and you were kind of bringing them up together, but it just didn't work. And you wonder if he's still a 30-goal, strong, one of the best centermen in the Western Conference type of players that he was. Then, like you say, you add a Kadri to that mix where you've got a Bennett down the middle, and then Backlund's your third line, and whoever else, Pelche, Dubé, Mangiapane, you can kind of see that. And I do get your point, because you look at this team, and I'm just looking at the cap friendly and looking at the salaries. It's a collection of players is what it is. Yeah. It's a collection of players that have been added by free agency, or you brought them in by trade, and some of them you did draft and develop. But right now, because of the mass exodus, it's just a collection of guys. And maybe that happens when Tkachuk wants out and Gaudreau leaves and Monahan falls off the table. Maybe they didn't have an option. I don't know.
You rebuild, which your owner doesn't let you do, or you keep chasing it. And well, it hasn't worked to this point, but again, they're a win tomorrow night from being in a playoff spot. I'm curious to see how this goes. Like, I think there's a lot of validity in this being an abject failure. And I think there's also a chance this could work. It's just, we're very early in it. And as Frank said, it's a 3-ish year window for this group. And I'll tell you what, if it's not working, we went through the names of guys that are up. The next year is their last year. Like 6 legitimately coveted good players. They can hold their fire sale in a year if this doesn't work.
And I often wonder too, and it's maybe not the same because we just work jobs. This is so different. But if you're someone who came up through the ranks, you played in the American League and then you get your taste here, and you've had to, you've been bent over coming out of your entry level deal, and you've had to scrape and, scrap out every $50,000 a year, $75,000. And then
like Mangiapane sounds like
some guy comes in and gets all the money, having never played a game. And then whether he does or doesn't live up to that salary, does he fit? Is he a good guy? Does he mix in with everybody else? Then sometimes you just have this guy, no one really cares for him. He's making all the money. He's not that great. And I'm not saying that's the case, but it could happen.
It's not honored to be a Calgary Flame. He's played in the NHL, and it doesn't have to be everyone. Listen, I think I'm right in my statements. How do I prove that?
Just to watch.
Someone going to give me a GM hat, and I'm going to run it. It's not going to happen. But I do believe I'm right. Now, Frank makes good arguments. Pinder makes good arguments. There are certainly arguments to be made, but this organization, to me, what they've done it's 100% isn't how I would do it. And that's fine, except that it's not turning out well this year. And you're telling me it's a 3-year window. Okay, Hellebuck's bounced back and played well.
Right?
Yeah, I mean,
so when we go back over the years, Retro, and because some of it was kind of for effect, but I know that at the heart of it, you were sincere. A year or two before the end of his contract, you would have traded Mark Giordano, and you would have done the same 100%. With Johnny, right? Like you would have done that.
I would have done it. And it's, again, easy for me to say. I don't have to answer to an owner. I don't have to worry about budgets. I'm not worried about financials. But what I do respect is the guys that we always, and bring it up lots, the GMs that make those shitty decisions that you think, what is this guy doing? Ooh, this is terrible. How can you put yourself in this? Getting rid of guys that have been lifers there. How is what they did with Mark Giordano? How can you look back on that and go, that was the right move? And my approach was completely different. So, yeah, I believe I was right in that situation. Explain to me how I'm wrong. I mean, that is now played out. Explain to me how I'm wrong.
Yeah, well, all three of us are on the same page. That deadline in a lost pandemic year, you should move him. Now, 2 years prior, there's certainly a case to be made that you win the West, you're a 1 seed, Gio wins the Norris. You don't have that season without him, but that didn't prove to go anywhere. So I get what you're saying. But again, do you want the homegrown stick with him? Or do you because those are the guys Ryan, you're saying you're going to trade, right?
Yeah, but
like
Ryan,
it's tough, right?
You're spinning it into extremes. And Mark had already been here for what? 12 years,
at least.
I don't even know, right? So don't think there's also writing on the wall. And Marty St. Louis had to go. Well, he did pretty damn good for the Tampa Bay Lightning, and they were like, sorry, bud, you got to go. Right? Like the Brent Seabrook thing, when they signed him in Chicago, all of us were in agreement. That's a terrible contract. Why are you doing that? And that's what I'm saying is, I would. It, again, easy for me to say. I don't have a GM title, but I wouldn't have done it. Love you. That's great. I understand the reasoning behind it, but The Chicago Blackhawks would be in a way better position right now than maybe if they wanted to be. I mean, I think they're deliberately going after something, so that's their prerogative and plan. But if they hadn't had to deal with getting rid of Brent Seabrook, it would have been a better situation for them. Would have been a better situation for them. And there are times right? And there's lots of examples of that. I mean, Ryan really likes how Carolina runs their organization. And I don't think it's easy to run your organization like Carolina does, but they do that quite often. They cut bait. They cut bait and they go, yeah, got to move you.
The difference, the biggest difference, I think, between the Flames and Carolina is their owners have entirely different views of how things should be done. Like, they almost lost Rod Brindamore over not wanting to pay him market rate. He stays there because he's loyal. You know, when free agents come up, screw you, we'll replace you. They've done a good job. They've also brought in guys from elsewhere, but they seem to get them on value, like Burns and Pacioretty for songs coming in, right? Buy low on guys. Never pay for goaltending.
We'll move on. We'll get to the Pinder report. Rhett, you told Ryan to shut the fuck up. Did you?
Wow, sorry. There's a bit of a stall or
there a delay?
There's a delay. Sorry.
It's not the first. It won't be the last. That's sort of the nature of doing this. If I have Rhett tell me to shut the fuck up, that's not an unnormal event to occur once a month or so.
Thank God.
You only hurt the ones you love. You only hurt the ones.
Right. For Village Honda, you know Village Honda, Northwest Auto Mall, your dealership for life, villagehonda.com. There you see it. Click that QR code. It'll take you right to the website. Maybe you want to sell your car. You got a car, maybe get some dough for this. They want to buy it. You get paid in 24 hours. No hassle. Get a no-obligation appraisal today. Maybe you want to see the new CR-V Hybrid. Maybe you want to see that Honda Passport Trail Sport. The new Accord is on its way. There's lots going on at Village Honda. Go see them. Visit them today. They bring you the Pinder report.
All right, gentlemen, game day tomorrow. Detroit Red Wings will be in Calgary, and good news from Flames practice today after an off day yesterday, getting back late from Ottawa. Rasmus Andersson on the ice. Now, not taking his usual spot on the top pair with Noah Hannafin, saddled up with popcorn enthusiast and connoisseur Connor Mackey, which has you in you're on the fourth pair at this point. But it's not a game day skate. He is on the ice. He's wearing the "you can do anything you want to me" jersey.
Be careful, because if the salt, if it gets in on those cuts on your stitches, if he's got some, cuts on his hands, that sting like a bugger, right?
His hands might be too soft for. I don't know that they're
salt in it. Damn,
he's hardly touched the stick this year. Anderson's in a spot to make a return soon, it appears, being active in practice. We'll just see whether that's tomorrow or not. And as we've seen sometimes with Daryl, it's one practice down the lineup. If we look good at game day skate, maybe he's back with Hannafin, or maybe it's another game off. They've been preaching taking things slow since he was struck by a vehicle crossing a pedestrian crosswalk on a scooter in Detroit 8 days ago, or 7 days ago. It'll be 8 tomorrow when they play the Wings again. This is a homegrown guy we like. I think you'd be happy to put him back in and have everyone slot a little more correctly through the decor.
The next captain.
Yeah.
Think so?
I just don't know his personality. He reeks of it as far as on ice performance. I just don't know what his personality in the dressing room is.
I don't mind it, to be honest. I mean,
he feels to me like he's the guy.
There's a lot of veteran do things the right way guys, but a lot of those guys are up pretty quick, like Tanev, Lindholm, and Backlund all heading into their last years next year. I don't know that you would give a guy a C in his last year.
And you can put a C on Kadri's chest, right? But that's not really going to change who he is or the way he...
Interesting thought. I don't mind it. Here's a look at the standings. Last night, Colorado loses in a shootout to Tampa. That's the entire season series between the Stanley Cup combatants from last spring. Colorado loses both. This one via extra time, so they do move back up to that 3 spot in the Central. Down comes Minnesota, and the Flames back to tied for the final playoff spot. Minnesota holds a game in hand, thus sitting in wild card 2. Look at the schedule, fellas. March 4 and 7. 2 games against the Wild. The one this is this month, which is great. Well, the homestand is Detroit, New York, Philly, but it is March 4 in Calgary, 7th in Minnesota. 2 games over the course of 4 nights between the Wild and Flames. That might go a long way in determining who's got pole position, or at least, a better advantage in that wild card.
Would it be the catbird seat?
Catbird seat. I don't know, because there's 2 wild cards, and there's been a lot of. Certainly, you'd 2 proverbial 4-pointers in the course of 4 nights, which is a lot of proverbial 4-pointers by my math. Elsewhere, Detroit, interesting run here. They're a team out east. They're in the Central Division. Look at this, 6 consecutive games in a row, the entirety of their season series with the 3 Western Canadian teams. Oilers tonight and last week, Flames last week, tomorrow, and 2 games back-to-back against the Canucks, and that's all they do with Western Canada. Feb 7 to Feb 16, that's all Western Canada, nothing else. That's all they get until they get to the Cup final, or for this year, at least.
Right.
Yeah, so an oddity there. In Edmonton, back-to-back in Flames. They're Edmonton tonight, Calgary tomorrow, so I know.
Is that Red Wing fan?
It'll be the Edmonton fans.
Oh, I see.
You soften them up for you.
Good then.
Yeah, let's take that, scoundrels. Last night, farm team opened up a 2-game set with the Abbotsford Canucks. Johnny Canuck on the jersey. No surprise, they win, and Dustin Wolf's the first star of the game. 29 saves on 30 shots. Remains
step it up.
The best goalie in that league. Something disturbing we noticed. Couple things. This is what they do when the Wranglers win. This is some sort of a dancing horse zombie well, I find quite disturbing.
Yeah, we don't need that.
Keep that
you
going.
Can do better. You can do better.
It's a horse's mane.
It looks like a dog's face, though. I don't know. That looks like a Chihuahua's head.
Looks like a deer's head.
They've been doing that a lot. They've been doing a lot of winning. I don't want to say stop doing it if it's working, but that's freaking me out. Some people will not sleep after seeing that.
It's like, that's terrible.
Hooves and then Chihuahua face. I don't know about this.
Well, welcome to the show. I dig this a lot now.
Holy.
Has he got any?
I like the moves. I think there's some great moves.
Got a good mullet.
Yeah.
Dance moves and mullets pass the test. I'm just worried about that face.
Rocking any genitalia down there? What are we doing?
All right, we'll move along. You want disturbing? There's that horse. Well, maybe disturbing is the wrong word. I have questions. Would you propose to your girlfriend at a Wranglers game? Would you do it?
My next girlfriend, yes, I would.
Someone at the game.
Well, congratulations.
I do want to congratulate the lovely couple. I also have questions.
Ryan?
Ryan. They're in love.
They are in love. It was Valentine's Day. It's the most romantic day, and 2,903 fans got to share that with them. So congratulations to the new couple. Said yes.
You're a dick.
What? I just have questions. I don't know how you book these things. Who do you talk to?
Dude, put so much work in. That doesn't just happen.
Do you just trust people to keep the secret? How do you wheel her down to event level and step on the ice without knowing there's a proposal coming? I have many questions here.
And is that a proposal? Because it looks like she's wearing did they get married?
I don't know. All I have is
this. Was she just wearing that to the
if someone
Tuesday night Wrangler game and he happened to have a ring on?
I have questions, Dean. If someone from the Wranglers would like to reach out and explain what happened here, that would be wonderful.
It doesn't look like your run-of-the-mill Wrangler garb on a Tuesday.
And I feel like this horse is behind it.
This guy's so
this
happy.
Horse has got to go.
No, he's great. Look at is that like a giraffe?
No, if that thing's in front of you, you're gonna knock it out just out of safety. You can't trust that.
That guy needs a name.
That guy needs a name. Again, if the Wranglers could reach out.
We got a lot of questions.
A lot of questions need to be answered, Wranglers.
Shoot us a text.
NHL, let's go. Oh, hey, don't put it up, Alex. There is an outdoor game this weekend in the NHL. Am I bullshitting you? Ooh. Is it true? And if it is true, who's playing? Dean, you're up.
I know it because I had it in my 20 questions. Because I knew that it would be
okay. Then you stop.
And I had it a week ago, and I knew it was going to be blank screen for sure.
So, Rhett, there is an outdoor game. It's a market they've never been to, and I believe 2 teams that have never played an outdoor game. Who is it? Where is it? I got another clue for you as well. A friend of the show will be there. Yes, that's right. There it is.
Carter Finley Stadium.
NC State their home football turf. And they've done some renderings here. I don't know how they did this without the fans being there. What a time to be alive. 2023. They've got pictures from the event in the future. Unbelievable. And our good pal Mike Commodore is going to be there. And look at that. Hey, that looks festive. So it'll be the Capitals and Canes. I'm incorrect. The Capitals have been in these games before because Brooks Orpik obviously clunked Sid. It was him, right? Yeah. Big concussion. Maybe it wasn't him. Rupp? Who was it? Okay.
Of course, as you said. Of course, we all remember that.
Of course we do. Yeah, the Sid concussion for a year. Let's get some hockey on the ice. Well, more on the Canes in a moment. They're on quite a heater, but we have to start with the hottest of heaters. It's the season of the Boston Bruins. David Pastrnak in overtime last night. You know how this ends, right, Rhett? I mean, it's pretty obvious when it's the Bruins and it's hockey and it's this year against a very good Dallas team.
Turns and accelerates out of the Boston zone. He's got Pastrnak right. Pastrnak drops it to McAvoy. Closes. Pastrnak scores! Any way, any time!
All right.
Jack Edwards, tuck it under your belt.
And 27 was doing so well there. He was kind of right on Pasternak's hip. It came across the blue line.
Watch the movie Makes Inside the Blues. He dishes this back.
It's like, all right. 20.
A normal player keeps carrying this puck. He's like, I got this guy right where
Okay,
whoop, see you later.
I'm with you. Oh, where'd
Switch,
you go?
Bang.
I don't want to stay with that guy, dude.
Yeah. And you did notice it was 4-on-4, so there must have been a penalty in overtime, and then
they killed one.
The box,
what it was Marchand.
4-on-4.
Yeah, gave them a 4-on-3 power play, and then Marchand came out of the box for 4-on-4, and then zing.
Bruins are good, Rhett. So's Carolina. Let's take a look at these two division leaders out east.
Well, did you hear it was 53 games to get to 40 wins, tying Washington for the fastest to 40.
Coming up here.
Yeah.
So before we get to that, the two division leaders, their last 26 games, Bruins 18 4-4. Pretty good. Canes 20 4-2. Very good. Your point on the Bruins? Yes, fast to 40 wins. 40 is a very impressive number. 62 is the all-time record. Bruins did not need many games to get to 40 wins. Good company they're in. Habs from the 70s, Caps of, I believe, 15, 16, and a few other clubs in there. 29 games left. They need 12 wins to tie the NHL record, Rhett. Feels automatic.
Doesn't it?
Feels, kind of.
It's like, what if they run into injuries? They started their season without Marchand, McAvoy. Like, Krejci came back from Europe. He didn't know what he's going to look like. No, they've already had their injuries. They lost a goalie for a
with
while.
6 skaters and no goalie for a couple weeks.
It doesn't matter. They don't seem to care. This team
still
just
go 500.
Wins. 62 wins, 95, 96 wins, and the 18-19 Bulls. Probably the tie would go to the team in the 90s because it's a little easier to win 3-on-3, I'd suggest. But either way, those are impressive totals. Whew. Knock it out this year, Bruins. Go.
Yeah, sure.
Get
Get to see them next week.
That's right.
2 weeks from now, whatever.
Perfect time for the Flames to see them. Should be a hot ticket at least.
I don't think there's a good
doubles.
time to see Boston. Sorry, I don't think.
Preseason would be great, wouldn't it?
And you know what? Of the 40, 34 are in regulation.
Yeah, they're good.
So it's not like they're sniveling.
They're not fluking.
3-on-3 wins.
No. Nor shootouts still.
Oh, you guys are okay.
Okay.
And like you said, was it yesterday or the day before? You said, look at their goals for and goals against.
Mm-hmm.
it's
number one for goals against, top 3 goals for. That's
their goals against is crazy compared to everyone.
2.12.
Well, just
Devils
total
been good
goals
on the road.
allowed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, the best in the league. Devils love the road, boys. The Devil loves getting on the road. They have been better than I knew. Vanacek, he's what? 12 games, 11-0-1 on the road since the late December. That's good.
The Blue
when you can go on the road and
Come
do
on.
that.
And giveaway wins.
Better than Vanacek, the team on a whole. I believe they have 20 road wins in 26 games. That's
23-3. And I was thinking with Vanacek, capital, right? Like this is a guy that they added in the summer.
Just another goalie. Woo!
Right?
Oh, yeah, totally. It was supposed to be Mackenzie Blackwood and Bernier last year, and now it's like, we just both roll the dice on some of these guys. Samsonov is the other part of that duo, wasn't he? He's in Toronto.
Yeah, it's just
good.
Yeah, whatever.
Goalies, man. Who knows? And finally, Speaking of Toronto, Austin Matthews returns tonight. A 5-game absence that stretched over the All-Star break is coming to an end tonight as they host the Chicago Blackhawks. More on that in the Betway Bets of the day because Chicago's dog shit and Austin healthy. Okay. NFL. Yeah, there he is. 5 games.
Stash.
Does have a decent stash. NFL news. Oh, I'm sorry.
You missed that, yeah.
Geez, look at this. Kevin Mongoose Mongolia, 46 saves in his NHL debut to get the win for the Senators. You thought the loss to the Flames for the Flames in Ottawa was tough. First-year head coach Lane Lambert or second-year head coach? Second-year head coach Lane Lambert because Trotz has been
came in, yeah.
Apparently, suggestions he's lost the room after this. 1 week, 2 weeks after they had Horvat, and a loss in Ottawa will do that, Alex. Everyone starts to question their own existence, right? Kevin! So that does it. NFL, goodbye. Happy trails to Derek Carr. You're no longer a Raider. How do we feel about this? He was certainly not the best quarterback in the league. He certainly was not the worst quarterback in the league. He certainly was going to make $40.4 million. And minutes before that guarantee kicked in, cut. There's quarterback available on the quarterback carousel. Poor guy's gonna have to settle for like $37 million somewhere else, Rhett, like Indy or Carolina or something like that.
I wish you well, Derek. I hope you get by.
Well, and Devontae went there a year ago because he was there.
Our college teammates.
What do you mean? Now where are you going?
He got his money too.
Yeah.
Lots of quarterbacks this year in the draft.
What are they saying? Saints? Maybe New Orleans for Derek Carr?
Where's Jameis go then? The carousel continues to turn. Does Taysom Hill follow Sean Payton to Denver? All kinds of questions.
Oh, so many questions.
It's going to be a good offseason there. And finally, Rhett, some of these new pest control companies, they'll put cameras on as they work. And I think your rental place in Buffalo had an issue. We just happened to get the video somehow. So I didn't know there was snakes in Buffalo.
Hate snakes. This is gross. Don't even show me.
Have you seen this?
Just, play the video. This is Rhett's place. Nice pink walls, bright in the room.
That's your basement. That's why you're doing it upstairs now.
That's where you afterburner, right?
That's not fun.
He's covering his screen. All right. That's about a 30-footer, Rhett. See, you didn't use Hope Street, Rhett. That's the problem. You don't use Hope Street, you're going to end up in a dump like that. It's over now. Okay, Alex.
Get it off.
Jeez. They're native to that part of New York. I don't know if you knew that.
That's what it's East Amherst.
No, well, it's always warm here, right? There's people golfing today, so the snakes, they like
really
sneaky snakes.
Yeah, that's your Pinder reporter. Sorry, thoughts and prayers about the basement there, Rhett.
Goosh.
There's restoration on the way.
VillageHonda.com.
Kids wanted a pet.
That's right. Couldn't find it for a few years, but it got bigger.
I'm not taking that one. Detailing packages at Village Honda starting at only $79.95. There is nothing better than having a pristine, clean, smelling fresh. I'll get you got your leather interior. Get that all taken care of, wiped down. Yeah, do you want the tires done? Of course, I want the tires done. Get it all done. Protect your vehicle from the harsh elements of winter. Book your detailing today. Village Honda, your dealership for life in the Northwest Ottawa. I always worry sometimes about if I'm in
snakes.
Yes, I feel like whenever I'm in Arizona or whatever, I always kind of check the bowl.
The bowl, like at the table?
No, the
fruit bowl,
the shitter. Always you hear those stories. What's going to come up?
Water is cold, and they're cold.
Nip you in the hiney.
I don't know how they'd get in there. That's not a real thing. Isn't that like a movie thing?
Not through the pipes.
It's not a real thing.
It's not a real thing.
They're hiding.
Now I know why he's waking up at 2
a.m.
That
disturbed me. I hate snakes. I hate them. Oh.
Yeah. There was, snakes are a little disturbing.
And it's funny.
Disturbing.
Thank goodness for the shoveler providing all this stuff for us, because she sent you the video from the Rhett basement there with the studio. I also got a listen to them. They're freaking out.
Oh yeah. Jeez.
Also got a no, you don't want to bring anything up. You were a little late for the show today.
Oh,
You know, we were waiting. We were kind of
Why
waiting
was
for you.
that?
Is Rhett going to be okay? Is Rhett going to be okay? We were just waiting. We didn't know where you were. It's become a bit of a thing. So I texted the shovel. I'm like, is everything okay with Rhett? We're starting the show. And sometimes, you know, he's not there right when we're starting.
he's a busy guy.
And I can't help but wonder if this comes back, Rhett, to your sleep apnea.
Oh,
We've talked about this with outdoor dental. You're not getting the sleep you need. We've got these sleep
Not the
apnea
quality
treatments.
sleep, that's for sure.
I know we've got the video. The shoveler sent it here
Okay.
of you at your desk. We had the other one where I think maybe you were. I mean, there you are.
Love that.
We're
shirt.
waiting for you. We're waiting for you to
My favorite shirt.
you golfing today?
like look. See, look how dude. You got to get some rest.
Working. Is he in a ball?
He is a ball.
What drink do you get at McDonald's there? What's your pop of choice?
He's rocking and rolling there, Rhett.
See? I don't know what it's going to take. What do we got to do? The Wolverine and I, we had lunch with Dr. Jay Patel the other day. He said there's been a bunch of people. He said they've had over 20 people have come in for the treatment in the last little while.
Really?
They're hearing about it. They're doing it. Their lives are changing. Why shouldn't yours, Rhett? Why shouldn't yours?
I got to get there.
Good luck on the course today, too. I know they're excited.
And it's not just the sleep apnea treatment. They can, they'll do the sleep monitoring and all that sort of stuff. And of course, laser-free dental work. While you're there, you get the sleep apnea treatment. Why not just say, hey, you know what? I love it here. Great spot. Let's just do all of our dental stuff here. Give it some thought. But the snoring treatments, 2 15-minute treatments, soft palate, back of your neck, back of your throat there. They use the laser on it a couple of times and it tightens everything up. That's what contributes to that snoring and poor sleep and poor lifestyle. You're tired all the time and fatigued. Why live with that? You don't have to. Outdoor Dental, outdoor.dental.com is the website.
Been carb loading, eh? Notice that.
Yeah, well, the Bills lost. I got depressed. I started to eat. What am I going to say?
Happens.
I hear you. We on social media, we've got a pair of tickets. Now, tomorrow, Flames game day, Detroit in town, the start of the little kind of mini home stand. Detroit. Go to the social medias. Go to Flames Nation on Twitter, on Instagram. Yep. You're going to see the contest there. What you need to do, you need to be following MadRose, tag somebody that you would take to the game, get on it. Later today on social media, we'll contact one of you. We'll give you a 24-hour notice, get you all set up for the game tomorrow, email you those tickets, and the tickets courtesy of MadRose Pub. Mad up at MadRose, taking care of us all year long.
What a beauty.
15
I would do anything
Royal Vista
for those.
Place.
I'd do anything for that poutine right now. Anything. I am beyond hungry.
The wings are great. What I do like is we are getting a lot of people who are going up there and then just snapping a photo. Hey, fellas, had to do it. Had to be done. Well done.
Check mark.
See that pizza there? They're making that dough, that sauce fresh every day. That's not coming out of some friggin' truck back and beep, 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 and they're wheeling frozen pizzas out the back door. Not at MadRose Pub.
So good you eat the whole thing, right?
Some shitty pubs are doing that to you. Matt would not do that to you. Not there. He cares about you. Give you stale beer and shitty food. Matt. Not at MadRose Pub.
No, sir.
Well, tomorrow is Ask
I apologize. I gotta apologize for my bad language today. I'm sorry.
Today?
It's a couple days in a row, to be honest. Don't apologize to us.
I'm okay with it though. I mean, it was passionate. I shouldn't have swore at you though, Ryan. That's a personal assault, and I don't condone that.
It's okay.
Sometimes you can take the advice and just,
Now, are you apologizing because you don't think he deserved it, or just that you said it?
You feel bad?
No, just that I should have more self-control.
Right. Yeah. But he deserved to be told to shut up.
100%.
Yeah, for sure.
Tough to debate that.
Tomorrow, Thursday, means Ask Rhett. Get your questions in. We all have questions. I think a lot of people are hearing you on this show. You're passionate. It doesn't just end with hockey. You're passionate about so many things in life. And if you need to draw on his passion and life experience, you can email him, askrhett@flamesnation.ca. And we will comb through those questions tomorrow, courtesy of Hope Street, Property Management.
Any topics you've been particularly passionate about investigating of late, Rhett, that you'd like to
love to have a deep
people
dive into some teaching philosophy and teachers in general. They're always a wonderful addition to any Ask Rhett.
The timing couldn't be better, as we are right into Teachers Convention
Deep
tomorrow
dive.
and Friday, and then
Another
Monday,
one?
a holiday family day. So I look forward to all the Teacher Convention questions coming in
Get
tomorrow.
some
on
time
Ask Rhett.
off. Get some time off, you lovely teachers.
Hope Street Rental Property Management. They're Canada's Property Manager of the Year. If you need to rent, if you're looking to rent some of the properties you have, there's no other. I don't know why you would do anything but get Hope Street.
If you've been using a shitty company that's got snakes falling out of your ceiling,
Yeah.
you got to switch to Hope Street.
Hey, what's this place you rented me? There's snakes in the. Not shaving.
There's 40-foot anacondas.
Just came through the shitter and bit me in the ass. It's not going to happen.
No, not Hope Street.
If you get Hope Street, they're going to check.
Don't
that
put
stuff.
that on, Alex.
Holly.
Hope Street Rental Property Management. HopeStreet.ca. HopeStreet.ca.
You ain't singing after the snakes.
HopeStreet.ca. And
Before
I
we go
love
with the Betway
being-
Bets of the Day, you had said
Yes.
earlier, what? Betway
Nothing,
Bets of the
I said-
Day. You said earlier something about schedule or whatever, but
Leafs, Hawks.
All right.
You're not. There's no juice. Yeah, go ahead.
6 games on the NHL sched today. Obviously, Flames are idle, so nothing there. I kind of went in. They have some of the pre-built bets,
Yep.
some of the different things. You can go and find your individual bets, and some of them
Mhm.
they'll stack in it's in the pre-built category. I'm going to go a power play point for each of Nikita Kucherov and Connor McDavid. The Oilers, as we know, hosting Detroit. Tampa Bay they're in Arizona.
Oh,
Stupid me. I figured I'm just going to go check the points. How's Kucherov doing this year? It's
Third?
Tampa. We know third in league.
third league
scoring.
scorer.
Yeah.
Behind the God and the demigod
Yeah.
in Shelbyville.
So okay, you're getting 2 of the top 3 scorers. Power play points. Give it a shot. Plus 175 if they both get
Yeah.
one, and then a little combo pack. This is what the Cowards parlay.
Yeah, that is a coward's parlay right
The
there.
Rangers, they're in Vancouver.
Oh yeah.
Tampa Bay at Arizona. Toronto home to Chicago. Regulation or money line wins, anytime wins for those 3 plus 160.
So you're thinking you're going to go with Shesterkin and the Rangers, not Colin Delia and the Canucks.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the
Okay,
Rangers. Yeah.
got it.
So give me those 3. If all 3 of those guys win, plus
I
160.
don't mind those.
There you go.
It's a very rational, well thought out bets.
Thanks, Ryan.
I'm going now to Toronto, Chicago, visiting the largest hockey market on earth, where Austin Matthews makes his return. If he scores the first goal of the game, I mean, it's not like if he's going to, it's when. Plus 550. He's coming back with a bang. This guy had 4 goals his first NHL game. He's coming back with a vengeance here.
He might score
And
the
Mo
first
Seider.
minute.
Yeah, why not? Right? First shift. Put him out there. Let's go. Mo Seider, 15 assists his last 14 games. Yeah, I'll take 1 assist in Edmonton paying plus 140. And we hit on this against the Flames last Thursday.
Good player.
Really good player. And the assists are there. There's a bunch of helpers of late.
So not
Plus,
a point,
his
but an
name's not
assist.
Mo.
That's correct.
It's not Mo. But
Moritz.
You make me sick when you talk, Morris. That's your Betway Bets of the Day. B19. Get that Betway app on your phone. Enjoy yourself. Be responsible, of course, and Ontario and all that sort of thing. Special guest co-host tomorrow on the program.
I'm taking a leave for mental health because of Rhett's disparaging remarks towards me.
HR has
HR.
emailed
don't call it.
that
We are HR, don't worry.
Ryan is distraught, emotionally damaged after today's program.
It's mental health day.
So we will have a special guest in that chair to join Rhett and I tomorrow. It'll be a game day.
We're not
And-
going to say
Cliffhanger?
it.
You're not telling
We're
us.
not going to
All right.
announce who it
Wow.
is. Like it's a complete.
Okay.
I don't want to put he or she. Maybe something comes up they can't make it, and it's go. Oh, I thought you were going to be on that. No,
Well, now I'm for surely tuning in. That's
I
great. It's
swear,
great.
I
definitely
hope
tune in.
it's a girl because we've never had on a guest host female.
Well, we saw the shoveler briefly on the Spirits Christmas show.
And in the Florida trip to
She's
the
more.
Rails rep.
You know what? She's
Loves
not
the
known
sun.
for. She's not known for her intellect and this talk ability. She's a visual.
Talking.
She's so,
That's right.
we enjoy
Very
her
visual.
for her visual attribute.
She was on the screen for a very short time, but I knew exactly what she was trying to get across. It was very clear. She was very good at it.
She was saying, you're number one.
Yeah,
right?
you're number one.
Yeah, you're number one.
Have a great Wednesday. Back tomorrow, game day.
Oh,
good luck getting that out of your...
Yeah, back at it again tonight, folks, if you want to get disturbed and lose sleep over a Wranglers win.
Wranglers
Between that,
horse
snakes,
sucks.
and Rhett falling asleep at his
so-
computer. Lots of heartwarming images on the show today.
Yeah, good one.
If you weren't watching on YouTube, you missed out.
You really did.
You did. See you tomorrow, buddies. Have a good one.
Oilers suck.
Yeah.
The disdain.